Hi, I'm Governor John Hickenlooper, and I am so sorry I'm not there in person to attend the Rocky Mountain Young Professionals Summit. This is something that, had I known it existed, could have made a huge difference to me and I wasn't really a young professional, I was a young would-be professional when I first came out to Colorado. There's a million reasons why conferences like this are so important and why it's important to the entire state that we attract and retain young professionals like yourselves. And kind of in a nutshell, two things. One is that we are, right now, it's this little moment in history, 2009, 2010, 2011, more people your age, right, young professionals, 25 to 34 years old, more young professionals moved to metropolitan Denver and along the Front Range in Colorado than any other city or community in the country, right? And that's when the recession, when there were no jobs. So we know that we have this magnetism, but what we've got to make sure is we retain young professionals, and that requires a number of things, the most important of which is making sure they're successful, hence the conference, right? Conferences, and this you'll learn, part of being young, which I still try to think of myself as young, not so young, but when you go to a conference, you meet someone, you have an acquaintance, right? And then if 6 months later there's a different conference, or you make the effort, you meet them again, you find a project to work on together, you begin to have a relationship. Over time, if you stay at it, you build up in that relationship to a point of trust. And trust is where the world changes. It's where transactions occur in the private sector, in government, or with nonprofits. That's where social change begins, is when people really trust each other and they say, all right, well, I'll give in on this, you give in on that, we'll do this, we'll do that. Suddenly the world becomes very different. And the conference you're in now, you're going to make, you're going to plant the seeds and make friendships that will, down the road, you can't imagine it now, but will impact your success dramatically. I always had little businesses on the side when I was, 12 years old. I had a little snow shoveling, a big snowstorm. I'd have two of my buddies, and I'd negotiate the deal, and we'd shovel people's driveways. And I had a little lawn mowing company for a year. So it was only natural when I got laid off. I was a geologist. I was a true young professional, but there were no more jobs in geology back in 1986 when I got laid off, and we ended up opening this brew pub. And I loved having my own business, and I loved that sense that you could really define yourself in a way that was really under your control. It didn't matter, what limits other people set on you. You could break them apart. And if I was going to give any advice to young professionals, if I could go back and have one thing, give advice to myself back when I was a truly young professional, it would be plan, right? We wrote a business plan before we opened. It was the first brew pub in the Rocky Mountains, the Wine Coop. And, we wrote a business plan, and we did a pretty good job. It took us so long to raise money. We had lots of time to work on the business plan. It took us 18 months. I couldn't get my mother to invest. It took 18 months. But that became our Bible. And a lot of things, once you're running your business and things are happening so fast, having it all laid out is essential. And someone told me once, actually Ken Theory, who's the chairman and CEO of DaVita, large kidney dialysis company that moved their global headquarters here a few years ago. And he was paraphrasing someone, but he said basically, in battle, plans are useless. But in winning battles, planning is essential. And part of that process of making a plan, of getting everyone together, of thinking through what things are going to happen, it prepares you for business, the battle. And once you're in the business, once you're running it, it's hard to create that space to go back and create new plans. You have to do it, but it's really, really hard. So if I had to do over again, the one thing I would push, and the people I see as most successful in life are the ones who have either started out or evolved and have been great, great planners all the way through. The other things that I kind of learned the hard way, and you really have to learn them the hard way. Someone like me telling you on a video or even directly, face-to-face, never quit. Perseverance and resiliency is this stuff is 98.9, 99.5% sweat and just hard work and luck. The harder you work, the luckier you'll get. It's what some famous wag said, but never quit. And you know what I tell high school kids all the time is work hard, be nice, and never give up. And I think that's, you know, being nice, building those relationships, taking an acquaintance, building it over time into a relationship of trust is incredibly powerful. And working hard, there's probably nothing more important than just figuring out what you want to do so that that hard work isn't, it's something you look forward to, right? I was a pretty good geologist, and then the price of oil collapsed, our company got sold, I got laid off. In the end, it turned out I wasn't as good a geologist as I thought I was, but I did learn how to work. And that first day I walked into the wine coop when we opened, I knew I was going to love working there more than I ever did anywhere that I worked as a geologist. And finding that place where you can wake up every morning and you can't wait to get to work, I mean, that's a gift if you can find it. Well, if you're going to ask me the movie that I always, if I'm tossing and turning and I get up in the middle of the night and there's a movie on the cable that I'm stuck watching it, is this great old movie with Humphrey Bogart and Arnold Bacall called The Have and Have Not. And no one has ever seen it, and I mean, none of my son's friends have ever seen it, but it is such a classic. They fell in love on the screen, which I always think is cool. I mean, they fell in love in real life as they were making the movie. But it is about a sacrifice and hard work and a kind of a cowboy code of honor, which I think is very powerful. On a more modern sense, the movie that I also have to watch that's much more contemporary is Groundhog Day, because it is so much like what we all have to endure in so many ways. It feels like you're beating your head on the same wall again and again. I think people's success in their own business, working for somebody else's business, in a community, is based on opening yourself up to that community and then investing in yourself. And there are a lot of studies that suggest that happiness and joy is a function of A, believing in what you do, and B, believing in your community. And that happiness is largely a choice. We get, even having traveled the state and dealt with people who have been through these floods, again and again you see people that have had the worst things that anyone could ever imagine happen to them, and they're still making jokes, and they're still finding a way to find that silver lining and trying to find a nugget of happiness in it. And those are almost always people that are willing to invest themselves in their community. Have a great conference.